Here's a closer look at the FuzzHugger AB-Synth. The AB-Synth is FuzzHugger's second fuzz. It's also FuzzHugger's most popular oscillating pedal. You have some non-traditional controls: voice, clip. Also you have fuzz and level. You have an on and off for the fuzz on the right. You also have an on and off for the oscillation. This can be set to on while you're in bypass, so you can choose which mode you want to be in when you start the AB-Synth up. This is version 2 of the AB-Synth. One thing to note, in previous versions of the AB-Synth, the bypass foot switch would start up and sort of fade into your fuzz just really quickly, kind of a half a second fade in. That was a system to avoid oscillation bleed through, and now starts up immediately. Of course, this pedal, as with all FuzzHugger pedals, is true bypass. All knobs remain functional in both fuzz modes and trip or oscillation mode. One unique thing about the AB-Synth is that oscillation rarely overpowers your playing. You can sustain a very long note and then have it kind of degenerate into oscillation, or you'll start to notice some blips start to come in stronger, and eventually the sustain fades into oscillation, which is really nice. Pretty much on all settings you can play right over top of the oscillation and not have it affect your tone that much, give you a little bit of a leap in gain and general excitement, but then will fade into the oscillation when you stop playing, or oscillation will instantly pop in between runs of notes. Also, you can roll back on your guitar's volume knob, and in many of the AB-Synth settings that will pitch you down an octave. The voice knob is not a traditional left to right knob. Basically you adjust it to find your sweet spot, with far left and far right being your home settings. Knob left is tighter and smoother. That's the original AB-Synth fuzz on that setting. With the voice knob far right, you have a bassier and slightly fuzzier sound. Some of the first versions of the AB-Synth were offered with a bass toggle or voice toggle. That has now been built into this knob when turned far right. In oscillation mode or trip mode, your voice becomes an oscillation trimmer. With the voice knob to the far left, you get more of a blippier oscillation, and as you roll back on the fuzz knob, you can control the speed and pitch of that blip. With the voice knob to the far right, you get more of a croaky, droning cackle oscillation. The fuzz knob controls just how overdriven the fuzz is, and in the last tiny turn, the AB-Synth suddenly compresses and gets much more splattery and nasty. If you back the fuzz knob off just a tiny bit, you'll notice the fuzz opens back up and some low end creeps back into the fuzz, which is really a nice little touch at the end of the fuzz knob. The clip control, like the voice knob, is also new for V2 of the AB-Synth. It is also not a typical left to right knob. Adjust it left or right to find your sweet spot. As with the voice knob, the first time you use it, try far left, then far right, and then find some settings in between. With the clip knob far right, you are in the traditional, original AB-Synth fuzz setting. That's a high gain, slightly modern silicon fuzz. As you back it off, you'll notice a slight decrease in clipping and gain. Things will open up and really uncompress around 9 or 11. You'll notice a little bit more perceived volume at that point. As you turn the clip knob full left, you bring in the germanium diode, which has a really different tone compared to the silicon. It's a little rougher, and also in oscillation mode, you can get more self-arpeggiation with that knob. That's when your note glitches and then starts dropping a couple pitches at a quick rate. To quickly overview some settings for oscillation mode, start with your guitar's volume and tone knobs turned all the way up. For weird synth bass tones, roll back on your guitar's volume knob. For self-arpeggiation, turn the clip knob to the left. For more self-arp and octave down, roll back on your guitar's volume knob with the clip knob turned to the left. For more blippy oscillation and sort of dolphin call noises, start with your voice knob turned all the way to the left, fuzz all the way to the right, and clipping all the way to the right. Then slowly begin to reduce the fuzz knob. Also, trip mode requires passive pickups and does not like to have any buffered bypass pedals in front of it. As with all FuzzHugger pedals, you run in on the right, out on the left, and it takes a 9-volt negative tip industry standard adapter. You can also run that at 12 volts. So there's your closer look at the AB-Synth.